What's going on, team? Today we are going to be covering DC's Black Adam, starring none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, going into this movie, my biggest question was, will The Rock be able to pull off the Black Adam role while also making it interesting, knowing that Black Adam is not the most animated character? Because that's one of the biggest things when it comes to these star-studded movies, is getting past the stardom and seeing the authentic character. So it's a superhero movie to its core, but it leans into the darker side of DC, which I think they do a great job at portraying. And with Black Adam being an anti-hero in his own right, I was expecting for things to get a little messy. Now, as far as the trailer to movie ratio, I think it was okay. Now, I think the actual trailer was a little bit misleading, which is not a bad thing, but when you bring it into context with the rest of the movie, was a little jarring and a little bit of a weird decision when it comes to putting this movie together. Now, with that being said, I do think this is one of DC's best movies to date when it's talking strictly like DCEU live action single hero type movies. But one of the things I didn't like was the repetitive storyline, but at the same time I did leave with a sense of hope when it comes to the DC universe and their movies and this quote unquote 10-year plan that they're about to go on, because at the end of the day, this movie was pretty good. And don't even get me started about Hawkman, bro, because they finally made a good one while simultaneously letting us know that Black Adam is nothing to play with. So overall, we're off to a good start. Now let's dive a little bit deeper and get into the character breakdown. Alright, to start off, the star of the show, Black Adam, or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I think this was a perfect casting for this role, because by the end of the movie, bro, he was Black Adam, which is really big for me. He delivered as the true anti-hero that we needed. And for the amount of actual dialogue that he had, I think he was still impactful, because not only did he have that, but he also backed it up with his actions. So overall, masterful job from The Rock, man. I'm excited to see what they do next with this character. Now, like y'all heard earlier, I have to talk about Hawkman, or Aldris Hodge, because they finally made him dope, bro. Like, because he carried the plot as pretty much the main antagonist. Granted, he is a superhero, but in this story, he was kind of the perfect sparring partner for Black Adam to see what he's really capable of. He provided us good laughs and moments to take him very serious. Because let's be real, man, like, really only one person in the DC universe that can stand toe-to-toe with Black Adam, and it's not Hawkman. But they balanced it in a way that it still gave us that sense of, oh, Hawkman finna go crazy, while also not making Black Adam seem weak, which is probably the worst thing that you could do. So awesome performance, man. The best thing I could compare it to is that from a plot standpoint, not speaking powers, he was the Goku to Black Adam's Majin Vegeta. Two opposing worldviews coming together for one goal. It was beautiful, man. It was beautiful. Now, the next person I wanted to talk about was the mom, or Adriana, who was played by Sarah Shahi, because she was like a good plot device as far as breaking down to us what this world is and the history of Kahndaq, and was really able to keep the movie grounded. I really wanted her to show Black Adam her necklace, which might come up in a different movie later on, just because like that showed that, you know, she was like a true descendant of his family, and I would love to see how you would have reacted to it. But overall, having the trope of mother fighting for a better world for her son, I'm not mad at it. Next, we got to talk about Dr. Fate, or Pierce Bronson, because I liked his role in this movie, because he was used more as like the moral compass, and he had a good but predictable moment that would sort of change the tides of the movie, which in the moment was cool, but looking back at it, it was kind of underwhelming. And don't even get me started about the actual Justice Society, bro, because at first it was fun, but by the end of it, they were kind of just non-factors in the overall schemes. Yes, they were used as comedic devices, but overall, they didn't really do much. So it's cool seeing them in there, especially in the beginning, but the Justice Society will never be the Justice League. Like, let's be real. And then last but not least, well, I guess it would be least, we got Ishmael, or Marwan Kenzari, who's overall just a boring villain. Like, you could tell from the beginning of the movie who he was. So like, when it came down to it, there was really no surprise for him. It was more of a means to an end type of thing, because what makes good villains is not only motive but dialogue with the main character. When you go full monster mode, that kind of just falls to the wayside. So nothing too crazy to say about him. It's just once he became Sabak and was more so unrecognizable, we just lost that connection But that's pretty much it for the character breakdown. Let's get into the plot. Alright, man, so one of my biggest critiques for this movie was that they repeated themes throughout the movie. And I'm not mad at the theme itself, obviously, because, you know, when you have the overarching big idea that you want the audience to leave with, you're going to have to say it more than once, obviously. But the way they went about it is what I didn't really like. To have a with great power comes great responsibility moment like in Spider-Man, the stakes need to be there, the character development needs to be there, and just the moment. And, you know, when you overuse it, it kind of just takes away from the seriousness for me. So I didn't really enjoy that part of the movie. As far as the pacing, there was a weird transition towards the final arc of the movie that I didn't really enjoy, which is what I was talking about earlier, where there was kind of a lull moment that the movie kind of ended, right? But when it came time for the movie to start going again, that moment wasn't what it needed to be, in my opinion. So because of that, you know, it gave you kind of like a false sense of security, and a lot of times that can be a good thing. When it comes to a jarring stop and then picks back up again, it's just hard to stay locked into what's actually happening, especially if things are very predictable. And there was things in the movie that were kind of felt like a waste of time that they added in there, from the zombie fight that just didn't make sense. And then Kahndaq was basically a huge skate park. I feel like they talked about the people a lot in this movie, but outside of the main characters, we never really got that. And then we're kind of forced into them having camaraderie out of nowhere, and we're just kind of forced to accept it. So that was a little weird, but other than that, I mean, the movie was still pretty good. Now, the last things that I want to get across are not so much criticisms, but more so like things that I just, you know, wish were more emphasized in this movie. Because like I said earlier, this is definitely one of DC's better movies, but things like the timeline and where this movie kind of lands is still a little murky. I think characters like Shazam not even really being addressed was a little weird. I wish they would have covered more of the status of Eternium more in the overall story, especially nowadays, because we saw glimpses, right? But never really establishing like what it could really do, you know? And then the underworld and, you know, the Demon King, aka Sabbac, was a little much. I'm not going to cap, because I know it's accurate to the story, but when I was watching it kind of like took me out of the movie. I was like, whoa. But I understand this part of his whole story. I just wasn't really a fan of that moment. Now, I think the chemistry between the cast was great, especially in a standalone superhero movie where you're introducing a lot of characters. And then bringing it back to the main question of this movie, The Rock really became Black Adam. Like, I stopped seeing The Rock when I saw this movie, which to me makes this movie a success. And then obviously I can't leave without talking about Superman's cameo in this, which means Henry Cavill is back, which I think is really good. Can't wait to see what that duo can do and how they tie in their storylines. So other than that, that's pretty much all I got from a review standpoint. Now, as far as my score for this movie, I'm definitely going to give Black Adam a G-File score of an 8.5 out of 10. No, this movie wasn't perfect, but it was definitely a good watch and something that might come back to. So DC, man, I hope we're back on track. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you like this video, man, hit that like button down below for your boy. It helps the channel out a lot. If you want to see more videos like this, definitely hit that subscribe button. But other than that, I'm gonna holler at y'all in the next video, man. Y'all be easy, y'all with the vibes. Always keep growing, stay going. It's been your boy G, and go. Peace.